Commander Illyra Trell stood tall in the bright hall of the Galactic Concord. Her sharp eyes scanned the room, full of representatives from many worlds. The air was filled with quiet murmurs and the soft hum of technology. Today was important. It was the start of a new peace talk between the Corellan Dominion and the United Earth Alliance. Illyra was proud of her people. The Corellans were known for their logic, discipline, and strength. They did not waste time with feelings. Love, friendship, and other emotions were seen as weak and useless. They believed that decisions must be made with clear minds, not soft. Hearts. As she waited, a man approached. He was tall, with dark hair and warm brown eyes. His smile was easy and friendly. This was Captain Jonah Reyes, the human envoy from Earth. Illyra had heard about him. He was known for his charm and his ability to find peaceful solutions. But Illyra had no patience for charm. She was here to do a job. Commander Trell, Jonah said, extending his hand. It's good to meet you. Illyra looked at the hand for a moment, then took it with a firm grip. Captain Reyes, the feeling is mutual. Jonah smiled wider. I hope we can work well together. Illyra nodded but said nothing. She already knew this would be difficult. Humans were strange to her people. They were loud, emotional, and often made decisions that did not make sense. But she had to be professional. The room quieted as the meeting began. Representatives spoke in many languages, but the common translator made all voices clear. The talks were about trade routes, security, and future cooperation. Illyra listened carefully, always calculating the best move for the Corellans. After a while, Jonah spoke with a soft tone, telling a story about Earth's traditions. On my planet, we have something called dating. It's when two people spend time together, learning about each other and sharing feelings. It's not just about duty or agreement. It's about trust and care. Illyra raised an eyebrow. She did not understand why anyone would waste time on such things. When she spoke, her voice was calm but firm. We don't love like you do. Emotions interfere with reason. Our people value logic above all. Jonah laughed lightly, not offended. Maybe, but sometimes love is the reason we fight harder and protect each other better. Illyra's eyes narrowed. Love is unpredictable and dangerous. It makes decisions weak. It has no place in leadership. Jonah looked at her with interest. Maybe that's why your people seemed cold to us. Illyra said nothing. She wanted to move on, but something about Jonah's words stayed with her. The idea of love was strange, but so was Jonah. The talks went on for hours. There were moments of tension, but also moments of understanding. Jonah was patient and kind, even when others were rude. Illyra admired his calmness, though she would never admit it. As the meeting ended, Jonah approached her again. Commander, I hope we can find common ground, not just for our people, but for ourselves. Illyra's reply was quiet but clear. We don't love like you do. Jonah smiled. Maybe that's a good thing, or maybe it's something to learn. Illyra watched him leave the room. She felt a strange pull she could not explain. For the first time, she wondered if there was something more to emotions than weakness. That night, Illyra stood on the balcony of her quarters, looking at the stars. The galaxy was vast and full of unknowns. She had always trusted only what she could see and control. But now the human's words echoed in her mind. We don't love like you do. Was that true, or was she just afraid to try? The quiet wind brushed her hair as she made a decision. She would watch this human closely. Not as an enemy, but as a mystery. The galaxy was changing. And so was Illyra Trell. The galaxy was tense. A fragile peace held between the Corellan Dominion and the neighboring Zareth system was cracking. Reports came in of rebel attacks and border skirmishes. Both sides blamed each other. The Galactic Concord decided that a joint mission was necessary to restore calm before war could begin. Commander Illyra Trell received the order personally. She would lead the mission. Alongside her was Captain Jonah Reyes, the human envoy she had met in the recent talks. Neither was pleased with the arrangement. They had different styles, different beliefs, and different views on how to lead. The ship that carried them was sleek and fast. The interior was a blend of Corellan efficiency and human comfort. Illyra preferred the sharp angles and silence. Jonah liked the soft lights and quiet music playing in the background. Their first meeting on the ship was cold. Illyra stood with arms crossed. Jonah leaned casually against the wall, smiling. "We have to work together," Jonah said simply. Illyra's reply was firm. "I expect nothing less." As they traveled toward the troubled planet of Vora Prime, the tension between them was clear. Jonah used a more flexible approach. He listened to local leaders and tried to understand their concerns. Illyra preferred strict control and clear rules. Their arguments were frequent. During a planning meeting, Jonah suggested, "We should try to talk to the rebels directly. Maybe they want peace too." Illyra shook her head. "Rebels are lawless. They respond only to strength." Jonah's eyes showed a quiet determination. "Sometimes strength is in understanding, not weapons." Illyra said nothing but made a note. Maybe his way was worth watching. Their first landing on Vora Prime was tense. The planet was scarred by years of conflict. Villages were empty, and fear hung in the air. Illyra and Jonah divided their tasks. Illyra inspected the security outposts, while Jonah met with local elders. One afternoon, as Illyra checked a border patrol, rebels attacked. The patrol was outnumbered and close to being overwhelmed. Suddenly, Jonah and a small team arrived just in time, driving the attackers back with careful tactics. Illyra watched from behind cover as Jonah risked himself to protect a wounded soldier. For a moment, she felt something new, a sharp ache in her chest. It confused her. He was reckless, yes, but brave. Caring later, when they regrouped, Illyra confronted him quietly. "You risked your life. That was not logical." Jonah smiled, tired but warm. "Sometimes logic alone is not enough. We protect those we care about." Illyra frowned. "I do not understand this care. It slows decisions and risks lives." Jonah looked at her, steady. "Maybe it's why humans survive, because we fight harder for those we love." Illyra remained silent, turning her gaze to the horizon. The days passed. Jonah's kindness to the local people earned their trust. Illyra's strict control kept the mission organized and safe. Slowly, their differences balanced each other. One evening, as the sun set in red and gold, Jonah invited Illyra to walk with him outside the camp. The air was cool, the silence deep. "Commander, I know you say your people do not love like humans," Jonah began gently. "But love isn't just about feelings. It's about trust, sacrifice, and hope. You showed me a different kind of strength. The strength to lead with reason, but maybe we need both." Illyra looked at him, unsure how to respond. Jonah continued, "Maybe one day, your people will see that emotions can be power, not weakness." Illyra's heart beat faster. "We don't love like you do, but maybe we are not so different." A small smile touched Jonah's lips. "That's a start." Back in her quarters, Illyra sat alone, replaying the day's events. She thought about Jonah risking his life, about his words on love and strength. For the first time, she wondered if emotions could be a kind of power. The galaxy was harsh and full of danger. But maybe, just maybe, there was room for more than logic. Tomorrow, the mission would continue. But something inside Illyra had already changed. The sun rose over Vora Prime, casting soft light on the rugged landscape. Commander Illyra Trell stood by the window of the command center, watching the sky change colors. The past days had been intense, filled with meetings, patrols, and moments of tension. Yet, something inside her had shifted. She could not stop thinking about Captain Jonah Reyes. Illyra's people, the Corellans, valued logic above all. Emotions were distractions, but Jonah, he was different. His easy smile, his patience, and his way of seeing the world confused her. She found herself watching him from across the room during meetings, noticing the way he spoke gently to local leaders or how he laughed quietly when others told jokes. Illyra shook her head. "This is not like me," she thought. "I must stay focused." Emotions are a weakness. But the more she tried to ignore it, the stronger the feeling grew. One morning, as they prepared for another day of talks, Jonah approached her. "Commander, do you want to come with me to visit the village? The people there are still scared, but they trust us." Illyra hesitated. Visiting villages was not part of her plan. She preferred the safety of strategy rooms and data, but something inside told her to say yes. Very well, she replied simply. They walked together through dusty paths toward the village. Children peeked from behind walls, curious but cautious. Jonah greeted the villagers with a warm smile and open hands. Illyra observed silently. At one point, a young girl shyly approached Jonah, holding out a small flower. Jonah knelt and accepted it with care, thanking her softly. Illyra felt a strange warmth watching this simple act. Later, as they sat by a fire outside the village, Jonah spoke quietly. Commander, on Earth, people use flowers to show care and friendship. It's a small thing, but it means a lot. Illyra looked at the glowing embers. In my culture, such things are unnecessary, Jonah smiled gently. Maybe, but sometimes it is the small things that build trust. Illyra found herself asking questions she never thought she would. How do humans build trust? How do you form strong bonds? Jonah's eyes brightened. We share time, stories, feelings. We listen and understand. Love is part of it, not just romance, but care for family, friends, even strangers. Illyra was silent. This idea was strange and foreign, yet it felt important. Over the next days, Illyra noticed changes in herself. She found herself less quick to judge, more willing to listen. She caught Jonah looking at her sometimes, a quiet smile playing on his lips. When their eyes met, she quickly looked away, feeling a flutter in her chest she could not name. At night, alone in her quarters, Illyra stared at the stars. The galaxy was vast and cold, but her thoughts were warm and restless. She tried to focus on the mission, but her mind kept drifting to Jonah and his strange human ways. What am I feeling? She wondered. This is not logic. This is something else. She remembered the words she had said to Jonah when they first met. We don't love like you do. Now those words felt uncertain. The next day, during a strategic meeting, Jonah suggested a new plan. Instead of more patrols in force, they should try to listen more deeply to the rebel leaders' demands. Understanding their needs may bring peace faster than fighting. Illyra raised an eyebrow but nodded. We will try your way. Their cooperation surprised many. Slowly, rebels began to communicate instead of fight. Trust grew, and the mission started to succeed. One evening, as they returned to their ship, a sudden storm forced them to take shelter together in a small cave. The wind howled outside, and the cold seeped in. They sat close to a small fire. Jonah looked at Illyra. You've changed. I see it. Illyra looked down. I do not understand what is happening to me. I feel different, confused. Jonah smiled warmly. That's how we grow. Sometimes we must break the old code to find a better way. Illyra met his eyes. Maybe your way of love is not weak. Maybe it is a kind of strength. Jonah reached out, gently touching her hand. You don't have to understand it all at once. For the first time, Illyra did not pull away. As the storm raged outside. Something new began inside her, a crack in the cold armor she had worn all her life. The mission was far from over, but Illyra's heart had already taken the first step into a new world. The heat of Vora Prime's midday sun was unforgiving. Dust swirled in the dry wind as Commander Illyra Trell led her team through a narrow mountain pass. The mission was critical, to secure a supply route that was vital for peace talks to continue. Every step was cautious. Every sound was a warning. Illyra's sharp eyes scanned the rocks and cliffs. The rebels had struck before in this area. She trusted her instincts and the precision of her team. Captain Jonah Reyes followed closely, his calm presence steadying the group. Suddenly, a burst of gunfire shattered the silence. Rebel fighters emerged from hidden caves, surrounding them quickly. The team was caught off guard. Illyra's mind raced. She gave orders swiftly, directing her soldiers to form a defensive circle. But the rebels were too many. Then, without hesitation, Jonah moved forward, placing himself between a wounded Carolan soldier and the attackers. Bullets flew. Jonah's face was steady, his focus clear. Illyra watched, heart pounding, as Jonah took the brunt of the fire. He pushed the soldier behind a rock and raised his weapon to cover the retreat. When the reinforcements arrived moments later, the rebels scattered into the shadows. Jonah was badly hurt, blood staining his uniform. Illyra rushed to his side. "Hold on, Captain. Help is coming." Jonah smiled faintly, pain clear in his eyes. "I'm fine. We protected them. That's what matters." Illyra's usual calm broke. For the first time, she felt fear not for strategy, but for a person. Her hand trembled as she applied a medical patch to his arm. Later, in the ship's medical bay, Illyra sat beside Jonah's bed. The room was quiet except for the soft beeping of machines. Jonah was resting, eyes closed. Illyra's thoughts were loud. She recalled his words from before. "We protect those we care about." Was this what she was feeling? Care? A Corellan medic entered the room. "Commander, his wounds are healing well." "He will recover," Illyra nodded but said nothing. When the medic left, she leaned closer to Jonah. "You risked yourself. That was not logical." Jonah opened his eyes and smiled weakly. "Logic can only do so much. Sometimes you have to fight with your heart." Illyra looked away. Her mind struggled to accept this. She was raised to trust reason, not feelings. But now, feelings called to her like a distant song she could know. Longer ignored, days passed, and Jonah grew stronger. Illyra stayed near, watching over him in a way she never thought she would. When Jonah finally sat up, she felt a strange warmth, a bond growing between them. One evening, Jonah spoke softly. "Illyra, why do you hide your feelings?" Illyra hesitated. "I am trained to control. To be strong, emotions make us weak." Jonah reached out and took her hand gently. "Or maybe they make us stronger." Her breath caught. For a moment, the cold walls she built around her heart began to crumble. The mission was far from over. But Illyra realized that her journey was no longer just about peace between worlds. It was about understanding something deeper: trust, care, and perhaps even love. For the first time, she wondered, could she open herself to a new way of living? One where logic and heart worked together? The stars outside her window shone bright, as if encouraging her to take the next step. The sky over Vora Prime darkened as thick clouds gathered, warning of an approaching storm. Illyra and Jonah had returned to their camp after a long day of talks with local leaders. The mood was tense. Rebel activity had increased, and their forces were stretched thin. Suddenly, alarms blared. The camp was under attack. Explosions rocked the ground. Soldiers scrambled for cover. Illyra and Jonah grabbed their weapons, ready to defend their people. The attackers were fierce and well prepared. The rebels had learned their tactics and aimed to break the fragile peace amid the chaos. Illyra and Jonah fought side by side. They covered each other, moving with a rhythm born of trust. The battle was long and brutal. Eventually, the attackers retreated, but not without cost. Many were wounded. The camp was damaged, and the night was filled with cries and whispers of fear. After the fight, Illyra and Jonah found a quiet corner, away from the noise. The storm rumbled overhead as rain began to fall. Jonah sat on a fallen log, catching his breath. Illyra stood nearby, her armor scuffed, her face serious. Jonah broke the silence. "Illyra, I want to tell you something." She looked at him, curious but cautious. He began slowly, his voice low but steady. "I wasn't always a captain. I grew up on Earth in a small town. My family was close, but I lost my father when I was young. It was hard, but what I learned was that love is what keeps us going. It's why we fight for each other, even when the world is harsh." Illyra listened quietly, the rain soft on her face. Jonah continued, "I didn't believe in love. At first, it seemed weak, like you said. But after losing my father, I saw how much it gave me strength. It helped me to be brave, to protect others." Illyra felt something stir inside her. She looked down, her hands clenched. "I don't understand it fully," she said finally, "but when you were hurt, I felt pain, not for strategy, but for you. It confused me." Jonah smiled gently. "That feeling is love, Illyra. It's not weakness. It's a power that connects us." For a long moment they sat in silence, the rain falling around them. Elia took a deep breath. "We don't love like you do, but maybe I want to try. I want to understand." Jonah reached out and took her hand. His touch was warm and steady. "Then we'll learn together," he said softly. The storm passed, leaving the night clear and quiet. The stars shone brighter than before. Lyra looked up, feeling hope she had never known. The mission was dangerous and the galaxy uncertain. But in that moment, something inside her opened a new path, filled with trust, care, and the possibility of something deeper. She smiled, the weight on her heart lifting. "We don't love like you do," she whispered. "But maybe we can learn." The journey back to the Galactic Concord headquarters was quiet. Commander Illyra Trell and Captain Jonah Reyes sat side by side in the ship's observation deck, watching the stars streak past. The mission on Vora Prime had changed both of them in ways they could not ignore. Illyra still carried the weight of her people's expectations. The Corellan Dominion was proud and strict. Showing emotions, especially to a human, was frowned upon. Her superiors would not welcome her growing closeness to Jonah. Jonah sensed her thoughts. "Illyra, whatever happens, remember this: we chose to work together because we believe in peace. That means standing by what we believe is right." Illyra nodded but looked away. The truth was, she was afraid. Afraid of losing her place among her people. Afraid of what the future held. When they arrived, the cold halls of the Concord seemed less welcoming than before. Illyra's superiors were waiting. Their faces were stern. "You risked much on Vora Prime," the lead officer said. "But your association with Captain Reyes raises concerns. The Dominion does not approve of personal relationships with humans." Illyra's heart tightened. She met their eyes, standing tall. "Our mission was a success because of cooperation, not separation." Another officer sneered slightly. "Feelings cloud judgment, Commander. You must remember your duty." Illyra felt the room closing in. She realized that choosing to follow her heart could cost her everything she had worked for that evening. In her private quarters, Illyra sat alone, staring out at the distant stars. Jonah joined her quietly. "They don't understand," she said softly. "They think emotions are weaknesses." Jonah smiled gently. "Sometimes they fear what they do not know." Illyra turned to him. "I want to stay with you. To keep learning, but I don't know if I can face them." Jonah took her hand. "You are stronger than you think, and you are not alone." The next day, Illyra was given an order. She was to be reassigned away from the front lines and away from Jonah. She stood before the council, her voice steady. "I choose to stay, for peace, for understanding, even if it means standing apart from my people." The room was silent. Some nodded, others frowned. Illyra knew the road ahead would be difficult, but she was ready. Together, Illyra and Jonah began planning a new initiative, one that would bring humans and Corellans closer. A project based not just on treaties, but on trust and respect. As they worked side by side, Illyra felt hope. Maybe love was not only about feelings, but about courage, the courage to change, to grow, and to unite. Under the vast galaxy, two different worlds had found a way to bridge the distance between them. And for Illyra, that was just the beginning. Months had passed since Commander Illyra Trell made her choice to stand. The Galactic Xenoscience Academy was quieter than usual as students and teachers gathered for the last class of the unit on Death Worlds. The air was full of a new respect, a feeling that had been missing before. Today, Professor Ilenix would give the final lesson, but it would be different from what anyone expected. The students took their seats, many looking at Eli with friendly eyes. He smiled quietly, feeling a calm pride but knowing the journey was not yet over. Professor Ilenix stood at the front and began. "When we first spoke about Death Worlds, many of you saw only danger and fear. You believe that any life from those harsh worlds must be wild and dangerous. But today we have learned something more important." She paused, letting the words sink in. "Eli, one of our students from Earth, has shown us that survival on a death world is not just about strength or violence. It is about courage, patience, and most of all, the choice to be better than the challenges you face." The class was silent. Then Professor Ilenix continued. "Eli's actions during the tests proved that humanity has qualities worth admiring: quick thinking, kindness, and the ability to work together." She moved to the holoscreen, showing images from the recent survival exercise. There was Eli, calmly helping a trapped student, Eli setting traps. Eli leading others through dangerous terrain. The students watched quietly. Many nodding in agreement. Krennic stood and said, "I admit I was wrong to judge Eli by where he came from. Today I see a different kind of strength, one that comes from the heart and mind." Eli looked at Krennic and smiled. "Thank you, it means a lot," Professor Ilinix concluded. "Let this be a lesson for all of us. The greatest monsters are not those from dangerous planets, but the fears and prejudices in our own minds. And the greatest strength is choosing to rise above them." The class ended with applause, not just for Eli, but for the new understanding they had gained. Afterwards, as the students left the room, many came to speak with Eli. Some asked questions about Earth, its people, and its challenges. Others simply thanked him for teaching them more than any book could. Eli felt a warmth inside. For the first time at the academy, he felt truly accepted, not just as a student from a death world, but as someone who belonged. That night, Eli stood on the observation deck, looking out at the stars. The vast galaxy stretched endlessly before him, a place full of unknown dangers and incredible beauty. He thought about the journey ahead, the challenges humanity and others would face together. He knew it would not always be easy. Fear and misunderstanding would still exist, but he believed in the future, a future where species could learn from one another, respect differences, and find strength in unity. With a deep breath, Eli turned away from the stars and back toward the academy. Tomorrow would bring new lessons, new friends, and new chances to prove what humanity truly meant, because in a galaxy full of dangers and mysteries, sometimes the greatest power was simply the courage to be human. Beside Captain Jonah Reyes, together they had built more than a mission. They had built a bridge between two very different worlds. The Galactic Concord was alive with change. The new Human Corellan initiative brought hope to many, but it also faced challenges. Some Corellans still saw emotions as a weakness. Some humans were cautious, unsure how to trust a people so different from themselves. Illyra understood their fears. She had once felt the same. But standing beside Jonah, she had learned that strength came in many forms: logic, courage, and yes, even love. One bright morning, Illyra and Jonah stood before a gathering of diplomats and leaders from both worlds. The hall was grand, filled with curious eyes and guarded hearts. Jonah spoke first. "We have journeyed far, not just across the stars, but within ourselves. We have learned that to truly protect and serve our people, we must embrace what makes us human and what makes us Corellan. We are stronger together." Illyra stepped forward, her voice clear and steady. "Our cultures are different. We do not love as humans do, but that does not mean we cannot love at all. We can learn from each other. We can build a future where logic and emotion walk hand in hand." There was silence, then soft applause after the meeting. A young Corellan officer approached Illyra. "Commander, your courage has shown us a new way. We are beginning to understand." Illyra smiled. "It is only the beginning." Later, as they walked through the gardens of the Concord, Jonah teased her gently. "So, Commander, do you think Corellans might have their own kind of love?" Illyra looked up at the stars, her eyes bright. "Maybe we do love, just not like you, maybe better?" Jonah laughed softly. "I like the sound of that." They stopped beneath a tree, the light of distant suns casting soft shadows. Jonah took Illyra's hand. "We may be from different worlds," he said, "but together we have found something that connects us." Illyra squeezed his hand. A new understanding, a new hope. As the stars twinkled above, Illyra felt at peace. The cold walls around her heart had melted away, replaced by something warm and strong. The galaxy was vast and full of mysteries, but she was no longer afraid. With Jonah by her side, she was ready to face whatever came next, because love, however it was shown, was the greatest strength of all.